And so it really does make fantastic compost.
Today we're taking a visit to Roger's garden in my hometown on the Tututaka coast in Northland, New Zealand. A few months ago I was back home helping my mum with her own garden. She shared with me that her plants have been thriving due to Roger's amazing homemade compost. Roger not only has an incredible thriving garden carved into steep terraced banks, but he has an unbelievable method for turning local invasive forces into a powerful ally for his garden, and I couldn't wait to check it out. Let's go take a look. Perched on the cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean lies an oasis, Roger and Emma's home. They took my mum and I on an adventure to show us and you how to make this supercharged compost using what could be considered invasive, overpopulated and weedy. Beneath the beauty, kikuyu grass spreads relentlessly, and rock pools once teeming with life are now blanketed by an explosion of kinna, a sea urchin with very few predators left to control its numbers. Yet where others see problems, Roger sees opportunity. By harnessing the vigour of kikuyu and other abundant natural byproducts, Roger has developed a unique composting system that transforms challenges into rich, fertile soil, fueling vegetable gardens that keep his family well fed. Join me on this inspiring video as Roger shows us how to use what you have to grow a thriving garden.
I think what you came to see here is...
Oh, you've got an audience now.
They're filming the film. They're filming the filming. Yeah,
Good.
The groupies. They're everywhere. So, okay, this is some compost. It must be about a cubic metre or more here that I've been making for a couple of weeks, probably. And I make, I don't know, one a month. And if you feel that, it's like hot.
That's so warm.
Yeah, it's really hot.
Wow.
It's too hot to put your hand, leave your hand, ouch. So, yeah, and so that's...
Whoa, that's actually so hot.
Yeah, and so mainly what we're using is a good way to get rid of this old kikuyu grass here. And kikuyu's an African grass, which is very common here in the north of New Zealand, and I think it's in Australia and many other places too. And this is, it gets, if you don't control it, it gets rank and very tough. And you see
and
this.
And it never dies.
Never dies. It's strong as anything. And yeah, it'll grow on top of fence posts. It'll grow on top of rocks. It's very difficult to control. And so, but it makes fantastic compost.
Oh, that's
so if
cool.
we see over here, maybe, yeah, here is some that I dug out yesterday. And you see here, it's actually growing. You've got shoots growing here.
Yeah.
And what happens if you put that old rank kikuyu on the compost, it slowly heats up, and then it starts to shoot and grow, and then as it continues to heat up, it actually cooks that, and that makes plant available sugars. That's as I understand it. And so it really does make fantastic compost. And the other component that we're using at the moment anyway is bull manure from the champion bulls over behind us there, and kinna, which we got from the beach earlier. And if we just throw some kinna on, shall we?
Yeah.
We'll just come around and we'll just empty. And these are they're now like a marine pest in New Zealand. We've because we've killed all our big snapper by shooting them or fishing them and eating them, because we've taken them out, and because we've taken out the bigger rock lobsters, so the big snapper have got like a horn on the top of their head, which they just back up to these things and smash them. But without the big snapper, these things have just proliferated to the state where there's, in the bay where we were earlier, there's hundreds of thousands. I got these in, took me about 20 minutes and covered maybe 5 or 6 square meters of ground. So they're phenomenal. And they're very small, and they're oops, if we have a look at inside them, the row, which in a healthy one you get a big yellow row, but these have got, there's nothing really. I mean, that is the row there in my finger. It's tiny, and so they've got no commercial value. They're nobody really wants to eat them, and left unchecked, they can actually live for, I think they can live for 4 years without eating. So they're an incredibly successful sort of species, and together they'll work together and climb up the seaweed and pull the seaweed down, and all the rest of them will jump on and just chomp it all up. And so they're a major problem.
So the big snapper's the only real ones that eat them?
Yeah, the big snapper and big crayfish will eat them, but you know, we've just eaten too many of them. And so I'm going to load the cow manure on top of that, thanks to the nice fresh stuff. Apparently what comes out of the back of the cow is the about as good as you can get for making compost. And if we just throw the rest of the bin up there, and got a second bin over here. There's obviously a perfect way of making compost, and there's books on it, and there's a heap of material on YouTube, etc. But I think you just
Make a hot pile.
do what you can, yeah. And I do believe that making it hot really does help. Certainly gets the weeds out of it.
Yeah.
And it really, this stuff supercharges the garden as far as I can see.
Oh, the veggie garden's looking awesome. Your fruit trees look great, the oranges and the mandarins.
Yeah, they all get a barrow load each year or more. And then just finish it off with the often I put a cover over it as well, just to help it cook up. So I've just got some plastic here, which would be better if it was black plastic, but I've only got white, so that's what it is. And I just put that over it. And put a board on it, one over here, like that. That's all done. And over here is some which, I guess this is about a month old. It was actually over in the third bin, but because I knew you were coming, I decided to tidy it up a bit.
Oh, nice, thanks.
But it's, you know, it's pretty well on its way.
Oh, look at this big worm.
You got a worm living in it, and it's pretty well on its way to, you know,
Nice.
being good to go in the garden.
And how long was that between?
I think this is about a month old.
Oh, that's not that long.
No. The more you turn it, the faster you can make it.
Okay.
But, you know, it's good exercise, but generally I'm not that keen. So if you just turn it just the once, like one and then 2 times, it might take you 3 months.
Yep.
And if you're turning it often, you can probably get it done in 6 weeks.
Wow. And it's just those 3 ingredients?
Yeah.
Or do you have to stick other things in there?
Well, we've got a farm here, so we have ragwort, that goes in it. Anything really that I can get my hands on, thistles. But yeah, generally, if I've got nothing else, I just go and chop some kikuyu. Lawn clippings. Yeah. Lawn clippings are a big part of it. Because we live near the beach, a few times a year I'll take the trailer here down onto the beach and try and get a couple of trailer loads of seaweed. And so sometimes it's got seaweed in it, sometimes it's got, you know, grass, sometimes it's got weeds, just whatever's available really.
Yeah, And it's just getting it to that temperature so that it can kill off the seeds and the weeds.
Yep. And I think something changes within it once you get it hot.
Yeah.
It really does seem to make a big difference, particularly changing those starches to sugars.
Yeah.
And,
Amazing.
Yeah, I noticed that the kikuyu-based compost seems to have a lot of nitrogen.
Yeah.
And so I get very big plants and sometimes quite small heads, but
Well, it'd be good for leafy greens then.
good for leafy greens. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I need to get a setup going now.
Yeah.
I only have little compost bins.
Yeah. Well, I remember my grandfather, who was a champion gardener. And
Yeah.
He had these 3 bins
Yeah.
as well.
Creating a more self-sufficient lifestyle constantly comes with challenges. It requires us to problem solve, adapt, and sometimes completely rethink the way we see things. But when we take a step back, shift our perspective, and embrace what nature provides, even its challenges, we often find everything we need is already within reach. This is how I like to garden, and Roger's story was really inspiring to me by looking at invasive plants and imbalances in nature not as obstacles but as opportunities. He's not only created an abundant garden but also a more sustainable way of life. With a little creativity and determination, we can work with nature and not against it.